All right, I believe we are live. So, Dr. Fears, how are you doing? And Mr. Fears, how are you doing?
Well, we are well.
Great.
Very good to have you on. Now, I found out today.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. And I found out today that it is Dr. Elizabeth Fears' birthday. So happy birthday. Happy birthday.
You.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Life Podcast. Let me remind the audience what the goal is of this podcast. So here's what I've learned. I'm currently 32 years old, and I've learned that in life, it's very easy to make excuses and pick one thing over the other. Where people say, "I'm going to be a great husband, but I'm not going to be able to be make good money. I'm going to be a great Christian, but I'm not going to be able to be a good businessman." Right? We feel like we have to choose either. I believe that the ultimate life is finding a way to do it all, where you're great, you're great in your faith, great in your finances, great in your relationships, great in your fitness, great in your fun. And today we're going to be talking heavy about fitness. But before that, I want to introduce our guest. And again, thank you guys so much. Let me first start off with Dr. Fears. So Dr. Elizabeth Fears comes from a background of healthcare with a doctorate in healthcare administration and education. So Dr. Liz has transitioned. This is very exciting for us. Dr. Liz has transitioned into the field of finance, where she has been very successful. And just so you guys know, she's one of the top directors in all of PHP, just so you know. Additionally, her background includes being a health and fitness advocate, former Figure Pro WNBF competitor, and a plethora of other things. So Dr. Fears, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And then I also want to introduce Mr. Fears. So Carl Fears is actually the founder of Got Muscle, formerly known as Fierce Fitness, since the early 1980s. So Carl's true passion is helping others reach new levels of confidence, which I think is so important, and health through through powers of teaching life formulas as it relates to health, lifestyle, and fitness. Carl has dedicated his life to motivate others on overcoming challenges and difficulties by empowering them to find their inner strength within. Mr. Fears is happily married to Elizabeth Fears, who also shares the same drive, same passion for helping others. They call themselves, check this out, they call themselves Team Fears. Why? Because it's a fierce thing that no one can understand. Team Fears feels that God put them together. Their love, their union, their life together has been spectacular. Without hesitation, they are equally yoked. Okay.
Amen.
Their motto is never to be ashamed of who they are, because there is always an opportunity to grow. Life is good. So this is Dr. Fears. Thank you for joining. Mr. Fears, thank you for joining us on the call today.
Thank you, David. That was amazing.
Thank you. No, you guys have an amazing resume, so I'm glad I could share. But why don't we start off with something fun, right? We'll get into the health stuff here in a bit, but why don't we start off with something fun? Tell me a little bit, how did you two meet?
You go first. You go first. Well, a friend of my mother's, which is still living, Aunt Debbie, she saw me one day. I was working as a makeup artist, and she stated to me, "You know, you need to come down to the gym. I want you to meet this guy." She said, "You know, you're still on your fitness kick, right? You're still trying to lose weight. You're still running." And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Well, I want you to come down and I want you to meet him." And so I had another girlfriend that I didn't know that was teaching at the health club at that particular time. And I actually went, and in the back of my mind, I was like, who is this? I was like, "Oh, muscle man."
Hey.
And I never forget, I went home and, you know, I was super young at the time. I told my father, I said, "Oh my God, Dad." My dad was a pastor, and I said, "Oh my God, Dad, I met the most incredible man." And then my dad touched my arm. I said, "Oh, don't touch me there." I said, "He touched my hand there."
I won't wash my hand, right?
And he's like, "Oh my God, girl, you are a trip." I was like, "Oh, he's incredibly hot." No.
That's awesome.
But anyway, one thing led to the next, and I became a part of his staff, actually. And Carl and I really became really good friends. And one thing just led to the next. We just ended up together. He said something one day to me that you never know who you're supposed to be with, but sometimes that person you're supposed to be with is sitting right in front of your face and you don't even know it. And so here I am, boom, bam.
Nice lines, Mr. Fears.
Hey, man. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, it was funny because after I was started trainer after a few months, I got sick. And the doctor told me that I needed to be home for about a couple of weeks. And I was like, I can't be home for a couple of weeks. So I run my business by myself. Everything ran through me. And so Elizabeth, she goes, I can run it for you. I'm like, you can't run my business for you. No, I can do it. I've been watching you. I think I can do it. I said, all right, let's see what's going on here. And so basically, she took over my place for a couple of weeks and ran it for me while I was down. And when I got healthy, I was like, man, I mean, I look at her a little differently, man. You know, I mean, because she really was my friend. I really wasn't really looking at her like being a girlfriend, you know, and things just grew. It was really odd for me how it came together. But needless to say, it was the best thing that ever could happen to me.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. My wife and I, similarly, we worked 2 years side by side as friends. We went to lunch all the time, in between meetings, in between everything. And then one day, I feel like God just lifted something. I'm like, oh, she's hot. Like, I'm like, okay. So it just happens sometimes, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, very exciting, very exciting. Now let me ask you this. So transitioning into the fitness. So Dr. Fears, I know you mentioned, I think Cupid kind of brought you into the industry. Mr. Fears, how did you get interested in fitness? Where did that passion start?
Well, I've been an athlete all my life, and once again, it was an injury came about, and I couldn't play football for a while, you know, and had rehab to get back at it. In the process, I did a lot of weightlifting and training and conditioning, and I just fell in love with it, you know. And after when I got away from doing team sports, I needed to do something, and then I just kind of kept rolling into it, and it just grew overnight, to the truth. It really did, because I acquired so many good clients, and they have stuck with me. And the best thing I can always say is that, you know, advertising is kind of tricky, but when you have a client base, they can talk about your business really well to their friends, and it grew like wildfire, you know.
Wow. The whole word of mouth.
Yes, sir.
That's very exciting. Okay. And Dr. Fears, same question. Your love for fitness, where did that start?
Well, I grew up in a household where both of my parents were entrepreneurs, but my father was an athlete. He was a former boxer in his younger days. And he and I used to watch a lot of sports on TV. He was very active. He believed in us getting up, walking, riding bikes, running. I mean, my dad was well into his 50s and he had us outside sprinting, and we were trying to keep up with him. And he had the speed of like a super bullet. And I was like, oh my God. And then we used to watch fitness shows on TV all the time. And I was on the thicker side as a younger child. And I just did not want to go down that pathway of gaining any more weight. I wanted to have a certain look as an adult. And I asked my father, would he help me lose weight? And he said, well, you know, first it's going to start with your meals. We got to change it. And he didn't know everything like Carl, but he did get me down where I lost 26 pounds as a teenager. And then when my aunt introduced me to Carl, he took it to another level. And then he got me involved in lifting and competing. And one thing just led to the next. But that love of fitness just came from me being around people who were my father, who was an athlete, and then just watching people who I wanted to actually look like as an adult. And lo and behold, it happened. So I was happy about my pathway to meeting Carl and being in the place I am now.
I love that. So I'll ask this, because both of you guys are very successful. Both of you guys have risen to the top of your field. So I'm sure you've been around a lot of successful people, and then you've also interacted with I'll say unsuccessful people, right? But have you two noticed a correlation with those who take their health seriously and those who are successful in business, just in their ventures? Have you guys noticed a correlation in that?
Yes, I do. A lot of guys that you would think that wouldn't be into the fitness game are much more into it than you think, because it actually keeps them in a range where they're consistent, and have a goal to work towards. I find a lot of doctors that come to me that really, they know about the medicine side, but they don't know about the fitness side. You know how you tie that together, and it's very interesting to me because you have all these interesting degrees in medicine, but you don't really understand how the food and the natural end works, and it all ties in together.
Yes.
Another thing I see is that it actually pushed me in this game that I didn't say earlier, is that my mother and her mother both died of colon cancer at young ages. You know, so it made me really think about the game as far as food. Food is the main source as far as being in shape in the first place. I don't care how much you work out, you cannot work a bad diet. So if you're eating bad off the bat, you know, you're doing all this cardio and stuff like that, you're just gonna be spinning your wheels, so it all ties in together. So basically, we're getting back to, like, the people that are in business, they realize that something that gives them structure, it keeps them pushing forward, being able to eat right. You have more energy, drinking more water so you don't get dehydrated and break down throughout the day. It's just basically getting a concept together where it works for you.
So powerful, so powerful. So I'll ask this. One of my goals in asking you two to jump on is to dissect a bit why it's hard. I'm going to use the word hard. I don't believe hard, but I'm going to use it for the sake of the example. Why it's hard to step into a healthier lifestyle. For example, I come from the Hispanic background. You got all these deep fried everything, which is so good. The food is great, right? I know you guys are going out to dinner, so don't let me start making you hungry, right? But at least in the Hispanic community, I mean, the food is great, but I know it's not the healthiest. Why is it that it's so hard for somebody to transition into a healthier lifestyle so they could be more mentally sharp for their businesses?
Because you develop your palate at a young age. Your parents, typically, if you see a little chubby kid running around in the park, look for the parent. The parent's chubby also.
Okay.
They're taught that, what I'm saying? So it's like anything in life, at a young age, if you're going to be a racist, you're taught to be a racist, not born to be a racist. I mean, it's something that you learned growing up from somebody older than you, and they see that and they think that's a thing to do. Same thing with food, what I'm saying? So you have to learn how to break away from that and get into it, to find out what the fitness people do. You can't keep relying upon things you're doing because you keep spinning your wheels, and that's within the ethnic food. I don't care if it's Mexican food, African-American food, Italian food. The list goes on and on and on. It's all keep you out of shape if you eat too much of it, so you have to learn how to back away from that and get into the fitness game, learn what the fitness guys do.
And I'll ask Dr. Fears, you went through, you mentioned earlier as a teenager losing 26 pounds. What are, let's say, 2 to 3 strategies to really be able to back away? I know Mr. Fears is saying back away from those habits. The palate develops as an early age. What are 2 or 3 tips you would give somebody like me to be able to really get away from bad eating?
I would say pay attention to family illnesses that take place, because one of the things that opened up my eyes was my mother. My mother was a beautiful woman, well-educated, business lady. However, she catered a lot to others. She loved to cook. She was born in New Orleans, and so her food was phenomenal. But there was one day I just paid close attention because my mother was gaining weight, and then she got diagnosed with high blood pressure, diabetes, and those things, and things were happening to her. And I just didn't want that for myself. So one strategy was to talk to my father, because he didn't have those things, even though he passed away with multiple myeloma, which is a bone cancer. But that was from him being in the military. But he and I had this conversation, and he said that if you want to do something different than your mother, he said, then you have to eat different than your mother. And I noticed that the two ate differently. He focused more on bland foods, more things like whole grains and greenery, but it wasn't like too much seasoning on it, versus she would do the salt and the fried foods and all of those things. And I just decided for myself to break away. I didn't have any type of other strategy except for just visualizing what I've seen. And I was the person going with her to the doctor at that particular time, because back then I lived at home. And so I didn't want that. for myself. And she always said that she didn't feel good. And I didn't want that. My stomach would hurt me as if I ate certain foods. And then when I started cleaning up my diet, I noticed I felt better. So my mother tells me, oh, you're going through a phase. And she says, you know, you don't like my food anymore. You're going through a phase. And I said, that's not it, Mom. I said, I really want to be healthy. And she says, you're going through a phase. And so she didn't get it. And she still didn't get it. And then one day before she passed, she looked at me and she said, I once had a daughter who said, Mom, don't drink that soda. Mom, don't eat that fried chicken. Mom, it's time to change and exercise. She said, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would listen to that little girl who told me that. And I would not have said she was going through a phase. And I said, oh, who said that? And she looked at me, she said, you know who. Yeah. So that's my strategy. It's just a visualization and just know your family history. And think of how you want to feel. Think of how you want to look as you continue to age.
Yeah, that's so powerful what you just said, Dr. Fears. So I know for the audience, here's what stood out to me. So Dad mentioned to you, if you want to, what was it? If you want different than Mom, you got to eat different than Mom. And Mom and Dad ate differently. That's such an interesting concept for me. Like at the dinner table, there's two dinners, but it takes that willpower, that discipline to be able to do it. So my respect to you for making that right decision. And so on that note, let me ask this. Last time we spoke, we were the biggest thing I got from our last conversation. I know, Mr. Fears, you were saying it's so important to hire a professional when it comes to diet, when it comes to exercise, because we could go to the gym and injure ourselves. We could go on Google and learn, about food, but it's not the same as hiring the professional. Can you speak to that a bit? Why is it so important to invest into a professional with regard to health?
Okay, I don't know what kind of car you drive, okay? You may drive a BMW or Mercedes-Benz. You a mechanic?
I'm not.
Okay, if that car breaks down, what you gonna fix it yourself? I mean, exactly. Do you know? I mean, think about it. Okay, you gonna go up on that hill and start work. I can do this. Okay, I'm not gonna go anywhere else. That don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? Go with the guy that knows what he's doing, okay, and follow him. I mean, the bottom line, there's a lot of different trainers out there, but at least find somebody that can create a plan for you, give you something which you can use as a map to follow, so you can have a system that you're consistent with. If you just wing it and go in and out of there, it's not going to work for you. I'm telling you right now, you need something to stay at it, keep it pushing, keep it moving. You got to learn how to grind and get through it. If you can't grind, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Okay, so another question on the health, and then we're going to move over to marriage and faith a bit. Okay. So okay. On the health side, so one of the biggest things I'm solving for in my health, I don't need to be the buffest guy when I walk in the room, and obviously I got a long way to go right now, but I do want to be the one with the most energy. So what are some don't do's and what are some do's if I'm solving for energy as an entrepreneur?
One of the biggest things with energy is water. Most
Okay.
people are dehydrated, okay? If you get to the point where you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So you already fall behind the game. You're already behind the ball right now, okay? So basically, I can tell most of my clients to do this. Make sure you try to get in a gallon of water a day. That's going to do wonders for your body. Your body is 70-80% water in the first place, so your muscles. When you back off and you get dehydrated, a lot of weird things start happening to your kidneys, your liver, your heart. I mean, everything just changes up. The digestion of the food itself. You might be bloated all the time. I don't know why you're bloated. You're probably not getting enough water in. And you have to start first thing in the morning, you get up, drink yourself about 8 ounces of warm water. Because your stomach is warm, it's not cold. So don't drink cold water, it's gonna knock up on you, okay? Drink warm water or room temperature, okay? And then start your day off and then try to drink water throughout the day. Set a timer if you have to. And every 2 to 2.5 hours, have a glass of water. And I guarantee you things will be much better for you as far as trying to work out.
It works, David. I do that and I've done that for the last 25 years. It works.
Our mutual friend, Joe Leonard, I always see him with a gallon of water. So
What's going on?
Yes. When I went into the PHP office, I had to praise him for that because I said, I rarely see anybody else besides me carry a gallon of water. And he says, I drink one of these every day. And I said, oh, I have to give you a fist bump for that.
I love it. I love it. Now, okay, so on the do's is drink a gallon of water. Is there anything either of you would say on the don'ts? Like if you want energy, David, don't do this. What would you say there?
Don't eat a lot of sugar.
Mhm.
Don't eat a lot of sugar or junk food. Keep your greenery up.
Okay. And so Dr. Fears, as soon as he said that, here's where my brain went. But I was, and again, this goes to my lack of experience. But I was told if you want energy, quick energy, go grab a Snickers. Like
No.
literally. So fight me on it. Tell me more. Tell me more about that.
No, that just slows you down. And plus it stores fat. You don't want that. And what you have to think about, your body is your temple. So you want to fuel it with good foods that you can actually burn when you do go to the gym. And a Snickers bar is not going to do it for you. So for me, what I like to do is I like to do fresh greens. And have you heard of Daily Harvest? I'm not advertising Daily Harvest, but I love them because it used to take me about an hour and a half to wash and chop all my greenery and then blend it for both Carl and I to drink. But now it comes in little single dosages where we can just put it in the blender, put water in there, and then just drink that down. And you feel so good. And you know that you're nourishing your body. And then you have strength throughout the day. But when you eat good, you feel good. And sugar is just like the worst thing you can do. That's like taking crack.
Well, not only that, with sugar, processed sugar, it's going to give you a quick burst of energy, and you're going to crash.
Yeah.
So your best thing to do is do complex carbs early in the day. And as the day goes on, you want to cut the carbs back and go with more vegetables and fruits, things of that nature, because your body can process and burn that much easier. Complex carbs take 45 hours to burn. Sugar itself is for the fruit. It makes a couple hours to burn. So basically, you want something that's not, you don't want to eat that later in the day. You want to eat early in the day. It gives you energy throughout the day.
Correct.
One of the best things to do is oatmeal and some blueberries. That's one of the best things you can do in the morning, trying to get you going.
Not a Snickers.
I'm being as honest as I can, but see.
You want a Snickers, honey?
and here goes back to hiring a professional. So before we get into the marriage and the faith, and then we'll wrap up there, Dr. Fears, or Mr. Fears, where can people find you? Because again, I go back to hire a professional. It'll save you time and time and time. You're investing into your health. Where can people find you?
www.gotmuscle.com. We're on the website. You can do the address, right?
Yeah. I can shoot it to you. I can send you the website as well, David. But if you're looking for him on Instagram, you can go to gotmuscle.com. Or you can just go to www.got-muscle.com.
Perfect. And I will put those two here on the links below so people could find you. And we've talked about it before. I encourage it. I hope you two do start the podcast. You guys are fun. I would love to listen to you, whatever name you put to it, right? But
You're gonna be on it.
I would love to. I'd be honored.
You're number one.
I'm ready.
We gotta get you on there, the annuity specialist. You kidding?
We'll talk about it. About it. All right, and actually, let's transition into that, and then we'll transition to marriage and faith. So, Dr. Fears, what's the pull into finance? Because I think you're one of the individuals I am most excited about, because you're not getting into the industry to try it out. You're getting in the industry to take it on, and I could just see that. What's exciting about it?
Well, I'm gonna just tell you this. So I am not a math person by any means, okay? I'm not a numbers person. However, I do respect numbers. And about 5 years ago, when my mother was passing, I became intrigued with end-of-life planning based upon what I had witnessed as she stayed in a skilled nursing facility. By me being her power of attorney, I had opportunity to actually walk into the facility and talk to all of the registered nurses and the doctors firsthand. And I noticed that the people that were in there were all over 60 years of age. And I didn't see that many family members in there. And I became curious as to, one, how many family members would come in and visit and spend time with their loved ones. Two, how many people had active advanced directives on file that would state if they wanted artificial food, if they wanted to be resuscitated, and etc., or blood withdrawn. How many people had that, and how many people had life insurance on file? And the director, I remember her saying less than 10%. That was bothersome to me. And so I thought, wow. And I told my mom, I said, you know what? I am entering the doctorate program. I'm going to do some research on this. And so when I drew up my plan for my research, my professors were saying, you need to find another subject, because this subject is not something that you're going to find data on. And we don't want you spinning your wheels because you can't save the world in this project. And I said, well, I'm not trying to save the world yet. I said, but I would like to do this project. And they said, no, you need to do it on health disparities. And I said, I don't want to do it on health disparities. And they said, well, you need to rethink what you're writing about. So I pondered down on that. And then I went right back to what I had originally suggested. I said, no. So I went through and I found some articles, because they said that there weren't really that many articles out there. I found some articles. I found some supporting documentation, started making a list, because I know you needed over 100 topics, articles to support your research. And then I presented it back and they said, now how are you going to find data? Because you can't find data on end of life planning like this. And I said, I'm sure there's some out there. Well, I found one article that had data linked to it. And I contacted a friend of mine who is a wonderful statistician, and he went through it and said, yes, you can use this as your data. And so I compiled everything back together. It was accepted. And one thing led to the next. It was approved by the IRB. And I was so excited because now, yes, my research that I have been fighting for the year and a half, it went through. So now.
That's a fierce thing, right?
That's right. My heart was just warm. But anyway, going forward, I work at Kaiser Permanente I'm working there now up until 12/31. I retire from there and I take on the financial services industry full time. But they didn't have, as I searched at Kaiser, they didn't have anything that was wrapped on end of life planning for me to use my research. And I really want to use my research. Well, people always approach me about financial services. And I said, maybe I really should look into it. And then that one day, I got a message from Miss Micah. And I had remembered praying 2 days before. I got on my knees and I said, dear Lord, I said, I don't know what I can use this research for, but I want to use it. I said, please guide my footsteps, show me the pathway that I am to take to help. And I had been doing videos on Facebook about helping elderly patients and elderly population on end of life planning. And when she reached out to me 3 days later, my numbers are 3 and 5. And I said, who is this? And so I responded, and I'm glad I responded because she has been a queen. And just the whole PHP family has been phenomenal and showing me the ways. And the gentleman who stated to me, yes, you can do this research. He reached out to me the other day and said, I've been watching you on Facebook. He said, and you're leveraging your doctorate degree just as I thought you should leverage. He said, so good job to you. And I thought, wow, so I am in the right field.
Yes.
I am excited for this journey. I am happy to help others. And I hope you feel my passion because it is on fire.
Team Prosperity. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Team Prosperity. It is.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then when you guys become marketing director, maybe Team Fears. I don't know what it's going to be, but that's a good name right there.
Right?
So last couple questions. I'll jump into marriage, and part of what I've realized just in life is I could either learn from mistakes or I could learn from others' experiences, and I choose to learn from the latter. Right? You two, I've been married for 4 years. You two, phenomenal marriage. And so I want to learn. I want to live the ultimate life. What tips would each of you give myself and the viewers on how to have an ultimate marriage?
What tips would you give him, Carl?
Make your spouse your best friend.
Okay.
With that, when I look at it like that, or think about it like that, is that I know my best friend. I wouldn't want to hurt them or do anything to disappoint them because they're my friend. And so
Yeah.
if I look at it like that and transform that to my marriage, I think it works really well because I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want to let her down. She's my best friend, and it goes from there.
I love it. I love it. I'm taking notes, Carl. I'm taking notes. I love it. And then same question, Dr. Fears.
Oh, you know what, David? He is actually on point. Yes, Carl is my very best friend. I confide a lot of detail into Carl, and he just sits there and he listens and takes it. But you know what? He never turns me away. He listens, and he's very compassionate, and vice versa. I am a friend of his, and I love our love. I love our union. All I can say is this: have a lot of conversation, have a lot of hand holding moments, give a lot of hugs and kisses, and be a couple often. And that goes read between the lines.
Okay. I'm taking notes. I'll go tell my wife. I'll tell her hey, the success to marriage is no. There we go. The key to marriage is right. But I love it. Well, I'm going to ask my final question. I was going to ask about faith, but I'm actually going to switch that question last minute or audible. And Mr. Fears, I'm sure you already know this. I've known your wife now for less than 2 months. But here's what I've really grown to respect. Always positive, always so grateful, always so proactive. So I'm going to ask, where did that start? What are some tips for? I'll say it this way: for people who normally view life a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit glass half empty. What tips would you give them or us, I'll say, to be able to start to view life more glass half full, more optimistic, to be more grateful? Where does that come from, and what tips would you give?
Oh man, believe in yourself. That's the main thing, and just keep driving. I mean, people can always doubt you, what you can do, and how you can handle certain things, and swear that you don't know what you're doing. But prove them wrong. I mean, that's the worst thing you tell a guy like myself. It's going to drive me harder to beat you or deny everything that you're saying about me. So
Yeah.
that's the way I look at life. I mean, be optimistic about everything you're doing, and don't be a quitter. That's the main thing.
I love it. And Dr. Fears, your answer to that.
My brain doesn't think negative, David. I wake up in the morning time and my brain is going like this. I wake up slow, but when I get started, I start singing and making noise.
That's the honest to God truth.
All right.
I can't
awesome.
help it.
That's
And
awesome.
I don't like negative spirits. I can't deal with that. That's a devil spirit to me. So when I see people complaining, all the time, I mean, you can take it for what it's worth and you can try to help and shape that person. But if it becomes a constant thing, it's like that person needs prayer, and it's not easy for us to fix them. So you just have to pray and let God do his thing for that person. But for myself, I like to remove myself from that situation and stay in my little happy bubble. That's why I say have a golden day, because every day is golden and I have a lot to be thankful for, and I can keep going on and on and on. So I'm not going to go on. But anyway.
I love it. Well, I truly respect both of you guys as a couple. Obviously, in business, in your marriage, in your faith. Very excited to have you guys a part of our family and the business family and friends as well. But with that said, Dr. Fears, I'm going to post your Instagram in the link. Mr. Fears, I'm going to post your website in the link as well. Please, whoever's watching the podcast, reach out to them, share your takeaways from this podcast, and however they could be of help to you. Absolutely, my highest recommendation. And lastly, I would sing, but I'm just going to say happy birthday to you. Right? I won't sing, otherwise everybody's going to log off, right? But happy birthday to you. But thanks again so much. Have a great birthday. And I will send you guys the copy of the podcast here in a bit. But thank you guys so much. Enjoy it, and God bless.
Thank you so much, David. We appreciate your time.
All right. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
God bless you.